Raw starts off with American Made versus Rice with the Wyatt 6 in a street fight. It immediately starts off with Nikki Cross immediately attacking Ivy Now. They end up going back and forth. Nikki Cross was constantly attacking her with kendo sticks. Then we had some very sick spots. This was just an absolute card wreck, as it should be in a street fight. Ivy Now ended up had a sick spot where she ends up using a fire extinguisher on Eric. Then the Creed brothers ends up slamming Eric to a table. Then we had a six spot where Dexter Brutus Creed, if I'm not mistaken. We had another six spot where Chad Gable goes to the top rope. I think he was fighting Joe Gacy, if I'm not mistaken. He was on the top rope, ends up doing an angle slam on the top rope onto a table on Joe Gacy. But then we end up getting towards the end. Uncle Howdy, he was watching the fight for majority of the match. Then he ends up coming into the match, hitting the Sister Abigail on Julius Creed. And then Dexter ends up hitting a dive onto Chad Gable. The Wyatt 6 ends up picking up the victory. I was confused about this match because this was supposed to be a 4-on-4 match, but Uncle Howdy got into the match. We made it a 5-on-4. It was kind of confusing, even though it's a street fight where there's no rules, so it's allowed. But I was so confused when Uncle Howdy interfered. But overall, I'm assuming this is the end of the feud. I don't know what's next for the Wyatt 6. I know that some people want them to feud with the Judgment Day, but and do Jey Uso, which I think is more likely. I don't know if they're going to do Judgment Day yet, only because they're still with the Liv Morgan storyline, so I think they're going to hold off on that. Jey Uso, I can possibly see, but I'm very interested to see what's next for American Made as well, because I don't know who else the American Made can feud with either, so very interested to see where both factions ends up going from here, though. Next, we end up getting Finn Balor. Finn Balor is cutting a promo. He ends up, mentioning Damien. Ends up saying that Damien screwed over the Judgment Day. Mentions that the more and more he tried to help Damien retain, the more and more he ends up holding Finn Balor down, and that he was the reason why Damian Priest was champ anyway. He ends up mentioning a year ago how he should have been champion, how Damian screwed him, and that he wants Damian to come out. Damian comes out. He tries to come out to attack Finn Balor, but Finn Balor basically ended up, holding off Damian Priest, and he ends up saying that he wants a match at Bad Blood. Damian ends up accepting the match for Bad Blood. Damian tries to attack, but Finn Balor kept on stalling a bit. He ends up stalling for the Judgment Day to attack. Judgment Day ends up attacking Damian Priest. Damian Priest looked like he was getting the upper hand, but the numbers game ends up playing to effect, and they end up getting the upper hand on Damian Priest. Rhea Ripley tries to come out. She is still on crutches, still having a leg injury. She tries to come out. She ends up attacking Dominic Mysterio. Liv Morgan, it looked like Rhea Ripley was getting the upper hand, but then Liv Morgan was able to get the upper hand by attacking her injured leg. Then Judgment Day is constantly destroying Rhea and Damien, constantly destroying Rhea and Damien. It was at a point where Damian Priest ends up sacrificing himself. He ends up getting on top of Rhea Ripley to make sure that Rhea Ripley doesn't get hurt. But then towards the end, Jey Uso ends up coming out to make the save. Judgment Day ends up running away. So very interested to see how this will play out. It looks like Jey Uso is going to be a factor in the Judgment Day storyline. So I'm interested to see how that plays out. And both matches are confirmed at Bad Blood for Rhea Ripley and Finn Balor. So can't wait to see how those matches plays out. Now we get the main thing on the show. Bret Hart, he made his return. He comes out, he prays. He was in a ring with the new ring announcer and Wade Barrett. They're talking, they're giving him high praise. Bret Hart ends up doing his catchphrase. Then Gunther ends up coming out. Gunther comes out, he gets on the mic, and he ends up saying that Bret Hart is basically passing the torch to, him, because he's now the best in the world and he's going to be the best there ever will be. End up using his catchphrase, against Bret Hart. Then he starts giving praise to Bret Hart, talking about how Bret was amazing, that he grew up watching Bret, but then he ends up saying that he will always be his number 2 favorite due to his number 1 being Goldberg, which was very brutal, because if you know anything about Bret Hart, he does not like Goldberg for good reason, I would say. Then Sammy ends up coming out to basically defend Bret Hart. They was basically playing into the hometown crowd because they was in I forgot the Pacific City, but basically in Canada, basically. They're playing, to the home crowd. Sammy comes out, he got a crazy pop. He's there to basically defend Bret Hart. He's giving praise to Bret Hart as well. Then he ends up saying that since Gunther keeps talking about how he's the best, he needs to prove he's the best. So how about he defend his championship against him, because Sammy is still bringing up the fact that Gunther can't beat him. Gunther basically ends up saying no. He tries to walk off, but then Bret Hart ends up calling Gunther a coward. Calls him a coward. Gunther gets Sammy. This adds more fuel to the rivalry. The only thing I don't like is that I don't see Gunther losing soon, and I don't want Sammy to be his next opponent because I actually think Sammy should be the one to dethrone Gunther. If if John Cena ain't the one to dethrone Gunther, I want Sammy to do it. I think you could tell a good story with making Gunther not unbeatable. I think you could tell a good story of Gunther can't get over that hurdle of Sami Zayn. I like that story a lot, but if they're going to pull the trigger and have Gunther beat Sammy, then I'm not mad at it because I understand, but I would love for Sammy to be world champion. But I know that if he faces Gunther now or within the next month or so, he's not beating him. But I understand why they would do this match because I'm excited for the match. I just don't want Sammy to lose. But this was overall a very solid segment. Next, we end up getting PFC versus Lyra Valkyria, Selena Vega, and a mystery partner, which ended up being Natalia. Not going to speak too much on this match. The babyfaces ended up winning towards the end of the match. They all end up putting each member of PFC into a submission, and they end up picking up the victory. Of course, they end up playing up to the hometown crowd. It makes sense. Don't know if this is the end of the feud. I'm assuming it is because I don't know where PFC goes from here, and I don't know where Lyra and Selena goes from here. So I'm assuming this is the end of the feud. So yeah, I don't have much to say here. I'm just very curious to what they're gonna do with these group of women. Now we get Drew McIntyre. He cuts a promo. He ends up mentioning CM Punk, mentioning how, of course, the attack he did and all that. He ends up promoting his new movie with Batista. Then he ends up asking Wade Barrett because last week Wade Barrett was the one who was trying to stop Drew McIntyre from attacking CM Punk, and he asked him why did he try to stop him, and that next time if Wade Barrett tries to stop him from attacking CM Punk, and that he would do him like he did CM Punk. They end up having to stare down for a bit, but then Adam Pearce ends up coming out, ends up making an announcement, ends up saying that CM Punk and Drew McIntyre will fight at Bad Blood, and it will be a Hell in a Cell match, which is what we all predicted. All the rumors, all the articles, etc., all been speculating that it will be a Hell in a Cell match, which we're all excited for. I can't wait to see how that match plays out. Very interested to see who will be the winner of that match as well, but I can't wait because it's been a while since we've seen a Hell in a Cell match in WWE. I think the last time we seen a Hell in a Cell match in WWE was, if I'm not mistaken, Cody Rhodes versus Seth Rollins. I think that was the last time we had it, and I think that was like 2 years ago, maybe going on 3 if I'm not mistaken. So very interested to see how that match plays out. I'm very excited for that. Now we get to the main event, the Fatal 4-Way match for the Intercontinental Championship, #1 contendership match. Now I will admit I did not watch this match. I got spoiled. I got spoiled, so I didn't watch the match because I already knew who the winner was. But to be fair, it wouldn't have took a rocket science to really figure out who was going to win this match. The winner was kind of obvious. But towards the end of the match, Braun Strowman was about to put someone through a table, but then Bronson Reed out of nowhere ends up hitting a tsunami onto Braun Strowman on the announce table. That was a very sick spot. I love that spot. That was amazing. They're continuing to build up Bronson Reed, continuing that rivalry, and he has every reason to go after Braun Strowman because Braun Strowman did take his spot in the match, in the Fatal 4-Way match, so it makes sense why he's attacking him. Jey Uso was the one that ended up picking up the victory. I think he pinned Pete Dunne, so it will be him facing Braun Breaker. This was overall a good episode of Monday Night Raw. I don't like that Jey Uso won, mainly because it's Jey Uso. We already know what's going to happen. He's going to lose. Then the Jey Uso fanboys are going to start crying on Twitter about how he should have won, even though we all knew he wasn't going to win anyway. But overall, this was a good, solid episode of Monday Night Raw. You guys let me know your opinions down below. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe. But yeah, that's it.